Good morning, everyone. It's such a privilege for me and for us. We will learn the perspective from three distinguished guests for what is the good research and what is good publication. In the last 10 to 15 years, there is an increased number of publications from China. The quantity increased substantially, and many of them also published in the high-impact journal. Answering them for the young cardiology that trying to have the better career, then they motivated for the more research, involved more clinical research and more good publication. So what's your impression regarding the manuscript submitted to your journal from China?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm the editor of JACC, and I'm so pleased to be here with my distinguished colleagues and to be speaking with you this morning. So it's a very interesting situation, I think, with China and Asia, particularly in China. No question, the number of submissions is going up. Of course, the pressures for people in China are to produce papers, also for promotion, for theses. There's increasing pressure for people to produce the science. We know that there are so many brilliant, dedicated, very conscientious scientists in China, often with very many clinical responsibilities too, balancing research and clinical responsibilities. It can be very hard to find that balance. What I think has struck me is the variation, the heterogeneity of the quality that's been submitted. And what I want to say to people who are submitting, sometimes I think people have made great effort and have tried with great diligence to produce important work, but maybe not enough time at the beginning to identify the very most important questions. So for us, when we see a submission, the first thing we do is we want to be sure the question is important. People will care. Readers will want to learn about it. The knowledge will be important. We're committed to ensuring that Chinese science is treated fairly and that everyone has a chance. In fact, one of our executive associate editors, Professor Lu Yan, received her initial training at Fudan and now is with our group and is working with us to screen papers. So we're very committed to make sure we only judge what's in front of us. But if I had a wish for Chinese submissions, sometimes I think maybe a little more effort at the beginning to be sure that the question will be seen as important. Because, by the way, this is important for all countries, all investigators. But when we see lower acceptance rates sometimes from China, I think maybe we need to be thinking together, how do we focus the question in the most meaningful way so that the work can yield impact for the readers?
And I think you actually addressed a very important question and for the submission, and it's my impression too. People are always talking about the methodologies, it is the method, but I think the good research question is the top, the issue and the weakness for the submission from China. Dr. Krumholz, yesterday I listened to your lecture regarding the obesity treatment. I think it opened a window for people to how to see the new promising treatment with a different vision, the new vision. But in my experience, training the cardiologist or the clinical doctor in the clinical research, I find that many of them don't have a critical thinking. They always follow a principle for the senior cardiologist. So what is your vision how the young cardiologists can trying to find good research question in their clinical practice, in their science communication with others, or like join this conference, or how they really build up their capacity to raise the good question?
It's a very good question, and I appreciate the wisdom of my colleagues encouraging people to ask hard questions, important questions. I wrote a piece maybe more than a decade ago. I said to my younger colleagues, be brave. The only way you can be a good researcher is to be brave, because you must have the ability to question assumptions. When you hear people assert things, you must ask, how do they know that? Is it really true? Where did it come from? Do I believe it? It's about the mindset for research of allowing yourself to be creative and to not be constrained by the way other people are thinking, but to wonder whether there are other ways, other pathways, other approaches. That can be in implementation, it can be in mechanism, it can be in clinical care. It also has to come from a deep-seated view that the status quo, what is currently happening, is not good enough. We don't know all we need to know. We don't have the information that can make us strong, and we're not serving our patients yet in the best optimal ways. We have to strive to learn more, produce more evidence, to have more confidence in the choices that are being made. Fill in the gaps like the guidelines. Here's something you can do before you start a project. Before you even start the project, write the introduction to what you think will be the main paper. Of course, you haven't started the project yet. You don't have even all the methods. You don't have any results. But you're writing the introduction. The introduction, in my view, this is just how I teach, should have three things. What's the gap in knowledge? Why is that gap important? And what am I doing about it? When someone finishes your introduction, they should be eager to read the paper. They should have their excitement raised about what it is you're going to produce. If you think you have a good idea for a research project, but you can't write an introduction that makes other people interested in the project, just 3 paragraphs, not long. But if you can't spark excitement in your colleagues, and share it with your colleagues, share it with your friends, ask them, would you want to read this article? Do you think this will be exciting and interesting? Will it have impact? Will people care? If they don't, take a step back and say, why not? Because before you spend years on the research project, if you can't even frame the beginning to make it that exciting in just 3 or 4 paragraphs, just like it would be the introduction to your paper, then you have to have pause. If you can write a beautiful introduction that everyone says, you must do this project, it's so important, it's exciting, then you know, okay, I've chosen something well. But you do not want to waste your time. I will tell you the most valuable resource we all have, it's not money, it's time. And you want to be sure that you're spending your time in ways that will provide benefits to society, that will accrue new knowledge for our profession, that will help patients, and that ultimately will help you grow. So these are some hints, I think, people can think about.
I think that in the medical education, in the medical college and the medical university in China, the students, they repeat the knowledge, remember the knowledge. Then how in the Dr. Krumholz, in your university, to trying to training the student from early stage, the critical thinking?
I think it starts with challenging students to think hard about what they are doing. You know, so we say, 为什么, 为什么, 为什么? You know, why? And you know, like a 2-year-old, you know, always asking about the world. Why? You know, but we want to capture the excitement from childhood, where you don't just repeat, but you ask why. You have questions about everything. And so a student comes to me with ideas. I ask them, why are you doing this? What does it mean? What questions more will it produce? I think we are not, by the way, have all the solutions. We share the same challenges that China does. So this isn't a problem in China, it's a problem for us to be able to create a culture where students feel safe. It's okay for them to, even for us, I tell them, in the research room, I'm not at the top. I'm the same. Because maybe my idea is wrong. Maybe I'm not right. So we have to be able to create an environment where they can even challenge me back. How do you know that? Why do you think that's true? And only then do we make progress, because we can't hold ourselves up just because we're older, just because we're more senior. Then everything stops. No, the inquiry, the progress. So we have to create a culture. I question them, they question me. We're always trying to understand what's truth. What should we go? What should we do next?
Regarding the innovation thinking, I think it is the most important characteristic for good research. But how you balance, because in China it's many issues. They're not innovation, but it's a big issue like prevention of cardiac. It's like adherence for the hypertension treatment, adherence from the healthy lifestyle. Those topics always is the old topic. So how to balance the publication with the technology, the innovation, and also you solve the problem, but it may not innovative technology.
I just want to pick up on one thing you said that I think is so important. It's not about the technology, it's about the problem you're trying to solve. And this is where I think you said it so well. You know, your emphasis was, it's not that I have a tool, now what can this tool do? It's what excites you about a problem to solve. And then you look and see, what can I use to solve that problem? If for good researchers, they're continually honing their skills, but they're finding skills in the service of answering questions. They're not finding skills just for skills, but they're recognizing we need to continue to grow. We need to acquire these skills, like any great athlete, dedicated to getting better. But for us, it's in the service. What problem are you trying to solve? Then technology actually offers us many ways that we can break through for these problems that face our patients, face society. But again, it should be driven by the problem, by the questions you're trying to address. We just want to say, Jiao, we want to encourage the Chinese investigators, the young students. We know, have in your heart such a strong will to succeed. You want to make a difference. You want to contribute. I want to say, I'm sure the others will echo this, you can do it. We want to be encouraging. 加油.